Welcome back to the Lawson farm, everyone. We are planting our potatoes this time, and I'm going to show you how to as well. First things first, I've got seed potatoes here. These were bought. There's the bag for them. These are white potatoes, and this is usually what I do every year, but this year we've decided to try something, and we're going to make a little comparison. These are the potatoes that came in that bag. They're just, we call them seed potatoes. They put them out, you go to your local farm store anywhere and buy those. This is some my wonderful wife has already cut up for me, which she's holding the camera for us today. Miss True Grit Southern Cooking and Canning. But anyways, what I was going to say is we're going to try something. These are our potatoes we had left over, the ones we didn't eat from last year. And my parents always plant their leftover potatoes. So we're going to try it, and we're going to do a comparison of which one does better. If we should go with the seed potatoes, or if we can just save money and use these potatoes every year. So we'll see. But to start with, you've got to cut your potatoes up. Well, I don't guess you got to, but I do. And what I do is, this is an eye, this is an eye, this is an eye, this is an eye. There's several eyes on that potato, and you want to make sure you got at least one eye on a potato when you cut it up. So I'm going to leave that just like that. And it really depends on how many potatoes you're going to try to get to plant in your rows. Now, see, this whole backside here has only got one eye there and one eye there. So I'm going to cut that whole piece just like that. Then this piece has only got one eye on this whole piece, but so it's right there. So we're going to leave that. Cut them up, and that just maximizes how many potatoes you can get out of each potato. If you was to put that whole potato in the ground, you probably wouldn't make just as many potatoes off of that one plant as you would after cutting it up. So it's a good way to save some money, and you can get, like I said, you've only got to go one eye per piece, and you can get quite a bit of potatoes off of one eye. Now, a little potato like that, I'm just going to throw it in there, and we won't even cut it up. But that's how we start off with. Before you ever plant your potatoes, you got to get them cut up. Now, here in just a few seconds, we'll show you how we actually go about planting them. But we're going to get the rest of these cut up, and then we'll come back. Okay, so we got all the potatoes cut up. This is our bag of the white potatoes. These are the ones we bought from the store just a few days ago. This is our bucket of the ones we had in our basement. I don't think there's anything wrong with planting these. Like I say, my parents plant them all the time. They plant their leftover potatoes, and it saves money. And I don't care what you do, if you plant a bunch of potatoes, you're going to have potatoes left over because they end up getting viney like this and they shrivel up. Then this is a box of red potatoes, and these really don't keep well at all, but I like them to just dig when the potatoes start coming in. You can go ahead and dig them and make whole potatoes out of them, like stewed potatoes, and they'll be about that big around, and they work really good for that. So we're just going to plant a few hills of those, but this should be enough for at least 3 rows of potatoes across the garden there. Now, this is what we use to make the fur in the ground to plant with. This is nothing but a potato plow. I don't know. Some people call it other things. I call it a potato plow. It's got the wide wing shank on it right here. And all I'm going to do is drive straight out the garden and put this in the ground to about right here and let it furrow out a row. And I'll use my tractor tracks as a guide to come right back down, and that keeps my rows spaced apart to where when I'm down here cultivating after the potatoes have come up, to where I'm not plowing over rows or I'm not too far apart from the other row. But I'll make the furrow in the ground with this, and then I'll come back with a set of regular cultivators that's got the wing points on them, and it'll wrap all that right back up. But we'll show you that when we get that far. Got raised beds or a really small garden at your house, you don't have to be planting your potatoes this way. You can just kick the dirt back, put a potato in. Potatoes probably one of the easiest garden plants there is to grow. They just need sun, and you have to watch out at least an hour for potato bugs. And this a little small bug, kind of favors a beetle bug, but they'll eat the leaves off, and if with no leaves, then it won't produce any potatoes. But we're going to get started furrowing out the rows here. I'm probably going to make at least 4 rows, and hopefully that'll be enough. And we'll show you how you space your potatoes out and put them in the row. But we're going to get these done first. Alright, so we got our rows fixed. We got the furrows dug out through here. We've got 4 rows right now. Each one of those little V's in the ground you see is where I'm going to be placing my potatoes. And that will be covered back up then once they're in the ground. But to start off, these are my red potatoes here, and I'm going to plant them on this first row and just see how far out they go. But we just simply just drop them in the ground and make sure we got them maybe 6, well not 6, but maybe 8, 12 inches apart, and simply just place them in the ground. Now it helps to have a small bucket or box or something like this, so you're not toting around a big heavy bag of them. You can just refill this every time you go, but just place them in the ground and just cover them up once you got them all done. But we'll show you how we cover them up here in just a few minutes. Now, I am a little worried because this end of the garden is really wet and it stays wet. So hopefully these potatoes don't rot and before they end up coming up. I have seen it happen, but we'll keep our fingers crossed that don't happen. But you can tell from the dirt that it's real wet, and on out there it worked up pretty good. But anyways, we're going to get these placed in the ground, and we'll come back in a few minutes and show you how to cover them up. Alright, so we have our potatoes on the ground. We ended up having 4 rows of the bought potatoes, and then we put in a whole row of our leftover potatoes from last year. Like I said, this is just an experiment for us, experiment for y'all. You'll know. I do know that these potatoes will do fine, but what I'm trying to figure out is if where they're side by side, if this row is going to put off more potatoes than this row, and whether or not the size and everything else will be in comparison. That way I'll know next year if these do just as good, I won't buy any potatoes and I'll use what I've got left over. Like I said, I'm sure they'll do something and they'll do okay. I just want to see how much difference there is between the two. But I'm going to show you how to cover them up. This is the cultivator we'll use, and you can see right here it's got these wing points on them. This is what you call a plow point. This, and this, and these will sort of roll the dirt back over top of our potatoes. And these here are just there solely for the purpose of plowing your tractor tracks out. And you know, later on in the year when you've got weeds in the garden, then they plow the weeds out too. But one thing I learned when I was cultivating tobacco for Daddy was in order to drive a straight line, especially when you've got a cultivator like this. Now, if you had a cultivating tractor like an old Super A or Farmall Super A or something, then your cultivators are directly underneath you and you can always look down and see what you're plowing. However, when you've got a cultivator like this, to keep a straight line, you never look back. You look forwards the whole time and drive out your tractor track. Because as soon as you look back, it's just bound to happen. You're going to turn that steering wheel, and then when you look forward, you realize you've turned and you go to correct yourself, and as you correct yourself, it swings this plow around and you end up plowing up whatever it is you're trying to cultivate. So anyways, that's how you keep a straight road. That's the way I was taught when I was growing up. But I'm going to show you how to cover these things up and we'll be finished for this. And we probably didn't get a quarter way out this first row here with those red potatoes. I've got a stick grove up out there right now at the end. But like I said, this will be easy to keep up with. You know, we'll know that the old potatoes are over there on the very last row of potatoes. And everything else is new potatoes. And then the rest of this garden, we're not really sure what all we're going to plant down here yet. We might plant some corn and some green beans. I don't know. We'll see when we get that far. It's not quite time to plant that yet. But we're going to get these covered up and hopefully you'll learn a little something, an easy trick to plant potatoes. So here's the finished product. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows there. Hopefully you can see this ridge in the camera here, but this is our row. And when it comes time to plant our corn and other stuff down here, I'm just going to run those cultivators through to ridge me up a row like that right there, and you'll plant right down the center of that row. I expect we'll at least be able to get 5 more rows over there. But yep, that's pretty much it. We put the potatoes in the ground and covered them up. I will come back after they've started to break the ground and I'll throw out some fertilizer by here. Sometimes I put it in when I've got the row actually cut out before I lay the potatoes down. I'll actually throw some fertilizer down in that row. But this time I'm going to do it a little different. I'm going to put it on top of the ground and see how it does. And down here this soil's pretty good, so it don't really need a lot of fertilizer, but I'll just throw some 10-10-10 or something like that by it, and I won't even throw much. I'll just scatter it on out the row and make a little light dusting of it on top of the ground. But that's this is our potato patch, and that's how you do it. And like I say, I hope it you know, if you have a bigger garden and a tractor and a cultivator, I wanted to show you how you could do it. There's several different types of plows you can use to cut that first fur. My daddy actually uses the same plow, which is a cultivator, but you've got on his plow, you got the option of putting a shank in the middle, and you can cut that fur out, and then he goes and removes that shank to cover the potatoes back up. But anyways, that's it. We've got our potatoes planted now. It's the last week of March, And around here, that's about typical time. It's been so wet, we haven't been able to get down here in the garden, but some other people have already got their garden, their potatoes planted if they're up in on some higher land. But this is down in the creek bottom here, and I mean, it's still wet right now. But anyways, that's it, and thank you for watching, and remember to hit the like button, and if you'd like to see more stuff like this, please consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll see you on the next one.